We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. Guys, this is your morning week daily show where we bring you the latest of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency technical, on-chain, and fundamental analysis. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing why Bitcoin needs Gary Gensler out. Gary Gensler, if you don't know who he is the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and he has been in charge for the last couple of years as we have had Bitcoin spot ETF after Bitcoin spot ETF after Bitcoin spot ETF rejected, while Bitcoin futures ETFs that are not physically backed in the same way a Bitcoin spot ETF is have gone through. This is a big problem because it's really starting to seem, in fact, it's pretty much all but confirmed as far as I'm concerned, that Gary Gensler is intentionally blocking a Bitcoin spot ETF for his own personal reasons or because of the reasons that the SEC has that are not all that clear, but also not all of that fair to the growing and fledgling Bitcoin and cryptocurrency industry. We've talked about for years on this channel how a Bitcoin spot ETF would be one of the most impactful adoption events in the history of Bitcoin. And over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, not necessarily all at once, but over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, would bring on millions of new people and hundreds of billions of new dollars into the cryptocurrency space. We've seen Bitcoin spot ETFs approved around the world. We've seen them in the Netherlands, in Brazil, in Canada, and in a few other nations, but we still have not seen one in the United States because Gary Gensler and his Securities and Exchange Commission keep shooting them down despite all of the growth in the cryptocurrency space. And now there are some inconsistencies starting to show up. What's going on here? Why is a Bitcoin spot ETF continually getting rejected? And is there a petition somewhere that we could sign to get Gary Gensler fired? And can you even fire a commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission? We're going to be talking about all of that and a whole lot more in today's video. So if you do enjoy today's video, make sure to hit that like button. Let's see if we can't get to 125 likes here in the next couple of minutes. Subscribe to the channel. But without much further ado, we are also joined as always by Tim. Boom. See what I did there?
What's up? What is up? I realize now that the screen is narrower. Sometimes I show things like out here, and they have no idea what's happening.
How silly of you, Tim.
You know, I was doing some film review with Smay last night. We went back and watched the first show, Jebb, that I'd ever hosted when you were gone. It was
crazy bad.
It was pretty rough.
It was really bad.
I want to acknowledge how far I've come. I listened to myself, the nervousness and the breathing, like the heavy breathing, and I was like, and the information, oh gosh. Go back and watch a show from last year titled, I think it's something along the lines of,
if you're a crypto noob, watch this.
It was like must watch or something like that. It was me, Smay, and Dasa. Oh my gosh.
Wait, you hosted when Dasa was still on the
show? Yeah, Dasa
really?
was there. Dasa was the guest
Who remembers
host.
Dasa?
Oh my goodness, it was rough. Listen, I got a long way to go. I think I'm going to watch shows that I've hosted here recently, like a year from now, and be like, what the crap was I doing right there? But I can go back confidently a year ago and say, what the crap was I doing right there?
Also,
Smay was tight. You know, Smay held it up. He did a good job the whole show.
I'm pretty consistent.
How did I do?
You good. You were
not there.
Never said a single bad word in the whole show.
I'm sorry, I was somewhere else.
Yeah,
my mind was elsewhere.
You were at C12.
Yeah, I was at C12.
Yeah. So
yeah, that would have been December of last year. I'm sorry, December of 2020 actually was my first C12 meeting. So that's probably when that was.
No, not that far back.
That was when my first C12 meeting
was.
It wasn't your first C12 meeting.
No, your first C12 meeting was 20.
That was my first C12 meeting was before
we're
Coffee and
talking about
Crypto.
Yeah, we're talking about March or April of 2021.
It was the first time we tried to do a stream when you were out.
Right, because the first time we pre-recorded it, and that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was rough. Well, we're also joined as always by Smay, who's already introduced himself.
I already was
on
talking. You know, I just wanted to say that. You know. Anyways, update by the way, guys. I'm back on track with my weight loss stuff again.
Woo!
So that's very exciting. I'm already feeling great. I'm getting into it. I'm doing, like, generally in life update, I'm doing really great in life. So I just want to put that out there. But we have Groovy, we have Crypto Alchemist, we have Mike Markle, we got Mitch Shaw, we got Crypto Red Fox, we got Agent Gold, we got JoJo. We got, who else we got here? We got Crypto Set Guy. We got TA Tim in the chat. Who the heck is that guy? Cyberfix Online SEO by Bradley Kellum. We got Matt C. We got Grand Roofing Incorporated. We got Silent. We got Sultan of Salt. Welcome back to Jebbi Youngling.
Yeah, welcome back.
Who else we got here? We got D's Nuts. I probably shouldn't have sold it that hard.
God,
who else we got? Dennis Pizarka, Kelly Kellum. I love all of you guys. This is great. I love all of you guys.
You know what I want to do also? I was thinking about it. I also want to know, because I want this to become a normal thing too. If this is your first show, or let's even say this is your first week ever watching the show, put a 1 in chat. Yeah, I would love to see how many people are here new. Welcome to Coffee and Crypto Live.
Yes.
It is a great show.
It is a great show. We put on a great show. It's always fun. Make sure you get your coffee and whatever beverage of choice you would like. And your crypto. Yeah. Don't forget your crypto. Just have it all sitting right there on your desk. No, I'm joking. If it's safe, then leave it in wherever it is. But, at least make sure that you have your coffee and maybe have your ledger live pulled up so you can be looking at your crypto while you're looking at your coffee, while you're looking at your coffee and crypto. Maybe you could do that. That would work. But, guys, we got a great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, I do want to mention who this show is brought to you by, and it's us, Club DeFi. If you guys don't know, this channel and the people behind this channel, myself and Tim and Smay and Zach and Greg and Shannon and Manny and Jillian and Taylor and all the people that work for this company that you don't see every day on camera, we've been working for the last 2 years on something called Club DeFi, and it finally launched in open beta a couple of weeks ago. And Club DeFi is the one-stop shop to learn everything that you need to know about cryptocurrencies in one place. We are the premier education platform for cryptocurrency. We've been teaching people how to do technical analysis on crypto for 4 years in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. Well, that is now antiquated, and Club DeFi has now replaced it with Club DeFi for the low cost of only $30 a month. That's nothing, guys. Lux Algo is over $60 a month, and it's worth every single penny. For that low, very, very, very low cost, we wanted to undercut everybody. What we're offering, most other people charge $3,000 for. I just want to make that clear. You get over 100 videos with new course content being uploaded every single week. You get a Discord server that is active and thriving with all of our members. You get office hours where our different educators will come on in a one-on-one, not a one-on-one setting, but a one-on-few setting in a Demio call where you can ask them any questions that you have and learn what you need to know about cryptocurrency in community so that you can strengthen what you're learning as you go and build friendships and relationships as you go. We know that communities are extremely important in cryptocurrency, and so that's why it is one of the most important features of Club DeFi. So make sure to check it out with the link in the description box down below. Shout out to Kelly Kellum, who is in chat for all the work he's doing over on Club DeFi as well. Now, I want to kick off this show with a market pulse where we're going to look a little bit at the Fed. As you guys know, the Federal Reserve has had a massive impact on the Bitcoin price over the last 6 months or so, ever since they started tapering the the quantitative easing, the liquidity injection into the economy that we were going through, where we were printing, I almost said $1 billion as if that was a big number, because, you say like, oh, I've done 3 things. Oh, I've done 1 billion things. But, it's actually more than $1 billion. It's actually like $10 trillion that we printed. It's a ridiculous amount of money, and it has caused a major devaluation in our currency. But it's not only that, they stopped all of that printing, and so the good times, if you will, the boom cycle, if you will, of 2021 came to an end around the November area of 2021. That's when Bitcoin topped out and started moving to the downside. Now we're going through a bust cycle, and we're having Fed raise rates. Well, rates have gone up from near zero to about 2.5% to 3% right now, and it looks like they may be going up again relatively soon. Tomorrow, on the 8th of July at 8:30 a.m., we are going to be getting the unemployment numbers. And the reason that that's so important is because whether or not the Fed comes out hawkish or dovish is likely going to have a lot to do with unemployment. Now, we're also almost certainly in a recession. We've more or less confirmed that. We don't have quarter two's numbers confirmed, but if we saw positive GDP growth in quarter two, I think every single person on planet Earth would be thoroughly shocked. So we're basically in a recession at this point. The Federal Reserve oftentimes tries to be careful about raising rates during recessions because raising rates constricts the economy, makes it more difficult for the economy to grow, and so therefore can lead to deepened recessions. So if we see that the recession gets confirmed here in a few weeks, when we start having those early numbers come out, giving us an idea that we don't know the exact number of GDP growth, but we do know that we are in a recession. And if tomorrow we come out with very, very bearish unemployment numbers with the rates going up, then the Fed could very likely turn around and in July start to signal a turnaround. If unemployment rates go too high, they could say, okay, instead of a 50 basis point hike, we're only going to do a 25 basis point hike. But if the rates are lower and unemployment rates are low enough, then the Fed could continue raising rates at the exact same, rate. So that's something to consider.
Well, and remember, Jebb, here's another important detail that even came from his mouth, and we're going to have to watch this as well. Just because the number of unemployment goes up a little bit, I don't think that would even be enough in and of itself to cause him to potentially lower interest rates, because he said this, and the statistics are there. Right now, for every single person unemployed, there are 2 available jobs open.
Right.
So that's where we're in a really sticky, weird situation that in my history,
Which is a terrible situation.
I have not seen us be in this situation where we are in a terrible spot with inflation. We're heading into recession, and yet the unemployment rate is not really that bad. So, and if anything, it's actually seeing a spot where you can afford to have some jobs killed because there's so many jobs still in existence. This is a really interesting situation that I'm very, very interested to see what those numbers are. And then I think it's a week from now when we hear
Wednesday, July 13th is when we're going to get the core inflation numbers.
Yes.
That's going to be big because inflation numbers, that we get those numbers every month, and those could go up. But let me just pause and back up on that whole unemployment statistic that you just said, where there's 2 jobs open for every job that's available. First and foremost, that is coming from the Great Resignation. A lot of people are realizing, hey, I have, the ability to choose the job, and now all of the power is in the hands of the employee. And so the employees are moving around to companies that are allowing them to work from home more. So there's a big restructuring going on in the economy. That makes sense. But another part of that problem is that a bunch of people want to sit down and not do any work and get paid by the government for unemployment to sit there and not do anything, because what the state does is they inflate the currency, and then because they've inflated the currency, they undermine the savings and the investments of the populace, and because they've inflated the currency, they put more power back into their own hands through a silent tax called inflation, and then they have the money to give handouts and grow the state. And that's why when during the Civil War, the income tax was implemented, and it was like 3%. Now the top marginal tax rate is 40-something%. If you live in Los Angeles County, in California, you're paying Los Angeles County, you're paying California, you're paying the U.S. federal government, and every penny you make over $400,000 a year, you're paying almost 60% income tax on. It is ridiculous how much the taxes are now. The government is spending trillions of dollars every single year, bringing in trillions of dollars every single year, and we're still running a deficit because we have a government that is 100 times larger than it should be. That might be a small exaggeration, but not by much. Maybe it's 10 or 20 times larger than it should be. The point is that the government has grown so big because they know that if they have the power to give handouts and say, hey, I'll give you money if you just vote for me. That's pretty much the transaction that's been going on and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you're looking out to 20 years from now, expect the state to continue to grow if this fiat currency system continues. Yeah. Expect the state to continue to grow. Expect more people to be comfortable being unemployed, and expect that to impact the culture, because when you don't work, that does a number to your soul. That is not good for you, because we were made to have a purpose and to go out and do something. So
yeah,
that's my soapbox on that. But as far as we were talking about with the inflation data, on Wednesday, July 13th, that data is going to be coming out, and it's forecasted to be higher by 0.1%. Came out 8.6% last month. It's forecasted that it will be at 8.7%. If it is higher, then the Federal Reserve is almost certainly going to continue raising rates. We could even see another 75 basis point hike at the next meeting. If those rates are lower, then it's another reason that the Fed could consider a turnaround if they think inflation is starting to become under control. I personally think that that is unlikely. Now, a couple of headlines we're going to run through here really quickly, and then we're going to jump into some TA. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson resigns. Tim, you have some of the details on this. Can you fill us in what's going on in the UK, and why is this important to crypto?
Yeah, if you read through the articles and what's happening, obviously there is a history of scandals, although the scandals are kind of a little bit like, okay, should he have done that? No, it has a lot to do with the pandemic and wearing masks, and you can do with that whatever you want to do with that. I think the things more recently is him hiring. I can't remember the exact position, but he hired a man into a position. He had a sex scandal going on, who had at least been accused of it. Overall, though, the other thing is that there's 2 parties in the UK. Obviously, there is the Labour Party and there's the Tory Party. That's the Tory Party's conservative, Labour Party's liberal. He's not going to get the confidence of the Labour Party. That's just not going to happen. He's in the Tory Party. The problem is he's losing confidence in the Tory Party. And from what I read, the leader of the Labour Party said if he does not step down soon, they were going to go ahead and vote for a vote of no confidence, and they had the support they needed from even the Tory party to get that to go through. So this is kind of a, hey, I'm going to back away before I'm actually booted. I think he says he's going to stay in the position as prime minister until the Tory party designates who's going to replace him.
Right.
But here's what's going to be interesting is because Boris, I don't know if he's ever come out ridiculously against crypto, but he hasn't come out necessarily for crypto. Could we potentially see in the UK, which is one of the largest economies in the world, which has been struggling economically, which when we see the loss of the British pound, that affects the world economy, that affects the crypto market. Remember that massive crash that we had. I got to make sure I get my date correct. The massive crash that we had starting back when we rejected at 48, and then we came down that massive wick back on May 5th. May 5th was in response to the UK's inflation rate and their response in raising interest rates. So they are a market watch. They're a market to watch. I'm trying to think of how to phrase that. Could we potentially see a replacement be pro-crypto and the UK become a safe haven for the crypto space, being a large crypto? It's really exciting potential. There's no guarantee, but when you have a large country like that, when you have a very powerful country like that, have a shift in power, and the space as a whole, the world is moving more towards, we need to get into blockchain technology in the crypto space. This is a golden opportunity. UK, don't mess it up.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and move on here because we got an interesting tweet coming here from a Bloomberg senior strategist named Mike McGlone. He says, hashtag Bitcoin could be one of the greatest bull markets in history at a relatively discounted price to start 2H. Or crypto may be a failing experiment in the process of becoming more redundant like crude oil. Our bias is Bitcoin adoption is more likely to continue rising, and that's the statement that we want to make right here. Of course, he does have a caveat in here, but Bloomberg and their senior strategists seem to believe that their bias for Bitcoin adoption is more than likely going to continue rising. And I actually have a tweet from our very own Kelly Kellum that I'm going to show you a little bit later that backs that up. Now, let's also look here because Peter Schiff just got roasted by Nayib Bukele. As you guys know, Peter Schiff tweeted this out a little while ago. He said Bitcoin has failed to live up to the hype of those institutions that put a toe in the water last year, and they are not likely to take the plunge. This year, most will opt to cut their losses and sell. I doubt Saylor and Nayib Bukele have kept enough dry powder to keep the market propped up. Well, Saylor's continuing to buy, and Nayib's continuing to be a savage because he said, how's your bank going? A little while ago, this was posted yesterday, and the screenshot was taken pretty soon there before. And so Peter Schiff is getting bit by the hand that feeds him right now, and hopefully he will understand one day that there is a next generation of currency, and he should probably try it out. Now, we also have an article over here. This is relatively sad, but luckily it doesn't have a huge impact on crypto, but it speaks to the contagion narrative that we've been discussing. Genesis joins list of firms that liquidated Three Arrows Capital. If you're not familiar with Genesis, they are Genesis trading, not Genesis mining. When I read this story, because I don't use Genesis trading, when I read this, I was thinking of Genesis mining. If any of you guys remember them, haven't been in the news in a very long time. I think they're still active. But Genesis trading over here is who we are talking about. They actually had investment in Three Arrows Capital, which just went under. In a recent Twitter thread, Genesis CEO Michael Morrow said that the large counterparty who failed to meet a margin call mentioned last month by the institutional crypto broker was the troubled Singapore-based Three Arrows Capital. We previously stated in June that we mitigated our losses with respect to a large counterparty who failed to meet on a margin call. He goes on to talk about right here, much like defaulting on a loan, margin calls occur when investors who are speculating with borrowed money fall below the borrower's maintenance margin. Morrow said 3AC had a maintenance margin of weighted average requirements of over 80%, meaning Three Arrows Capital needed to maintain this amount of value before having their collateral sold off. That's unfortunately for them, and unfortunately for Genesis, not what occurred. So contagion is continuing to spread. It doesn't look like Genesis trading is in any danger, but they were exposed to Three Arrows Capital, and the term exposed goes right along with the term contagion because that's what this is acting like. It's acting like a virus. It's spreading everywhere. You have one company goes down, and then that's a big enough loss that it causes another company to go down. It started with Terra Luna and the drop on Bitcoin, and it's knocked out a lot of companies, and we'll see who's strong enough to survive the bear market. It is most certainly a Darwinian event, and natural selection is fast at play. Now, we're going to jump into our technical analysis here, and I want to start off by kind of referencing the adoption that Mike McGlone here, I believe I'm pronouncing that name right, said, our bias is Bitcoin adoption is more than likely to continue rising. Well, our very own Kelly Kellum over here on Twitter replied to a tweet with this chart right here showing where Bitcoin is right now in 2021 at roughly 130 million users. That figure, I honestly think, is a lot lower than that. I think 130 million users is 130 million people that have ever been exposed to crypto, as in they've opened a Coinbase account or they bought Bitcoin on Robinhood. I don't think we're talking 130 million people that are actually crypto users on the daily like everybody watching this stream is. But the point is, if we see the growth curve of Bitcoin continue at the same rate, we'll have 1 billion users in 2025, which will be 8 times as many people in 2025 in the cryptocurrency space as there is now. So picture this show right now in 2025, instead of having 1,000 viewers when it's at the drop, at the bottom of the market, having 8,000 viewers, or at the top when this show was averaging 3, 4, 5,000 viewers a year ago when there were way more people in the crypto space. Imagine this show having 25, 30, 35,000 viewers. That's what we're talking about. That's the kind of growth that we're talking about here. We're talking about 8 times more people joining the cryptocurrency space in just 4 short years. The internet, to get to that level of adoption, took 7.5 years between 97 and 2005. I've been saying for a long time, look, we're in the late 90s era of the internet. We have not even gotten started yet. We are in a parabolic growth curve. We're taking a little bit of a pause because we're in a bear market, but we are in the middle of the biggest growth in the history of Bitcoin. And we shouldn't forget that just because the price is down. But speaking of price, let's go ahead and take a look here at the price of Bitcoin, because it is actually doing pretty well over the last couple of days. As you can see, it is currently trading at $20,689, and it has been in what we would call either a rising wedge, which is more likely the correct trend to call it here, or you could even call it an ascending triangle pattern. I would more than likely, call this an ascending wedge. Now, there's a couple of things to note here. Number one, Bitcoin is breaking bullish out of this symmetrical triangle pattern right here, which is wonderful, but it's also in this rising wedge, which indicates that it could fall over relatively soon. As far as resistance is concerned, there's strong resistance at $21,000 by nature of it being 21K, and then there's also a level of resistance set right here around 2,000 hours on the 30th of June 2022. So there's quite a bit of resistance above us, and for Bitcoin to really get any momentum, it's going to need to break through 21.6, which are our local highs that we set back here on the 21st and 26th of June, respectively. I personally would be surprised if we were able to get the momentum to break through $21,600. But Tim, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think now we have the strength to start a rally up to 24, 25, or is this all we're going to see to the upside and we're going to go down from here?
Well, so I'm going to start off by saying just what the technicals are saying. The technicals are breaking in the opposite direction of really what they should be doing. I don't know if you're on my screen already, Smay, but if not, you can go ahead and go there. I put this on my Twitter yesterday. This is something that we got to keep in mind when we're watching what's happening right now. I'm going to show you guys what's happening in the RSI, but also if you guys, aren't paying attention, here we go. Auto on this one. We are sitting, this is a bear pennant right now. This is clear cut a bear pennant. If I go straight from the top of this last formation that we had, a rising wedge back here, before this dip, this extrapolates out and should send us down, just from a technical standpoint, should send us down somewhere around 11,500. So we got to understand that is in the cards. Even if I wasn't looking at the bear pennant, though, this is Jebb showed on the screen, but this is a symmetrical triangle pattern that the price moved down into. Again, more often than not, the price ends up moving to the downside. But I did tell the people in office hours, I did say, I have watched in the Bitcoin market over the last 6 months, especially as we've been moving to the downside from all-time high, we regularly will do some fake outs where we have a formation that's either pointing bullish or bearish, and we end up breaking the opposite direction. So it would not surprise me, Jebb, if we actually do end up continuing. Right now, going down to the hourly chart, we're actually breaking through that level of resistance. The only difference is I want to see it close. I want to see not only the hourly chart, I want to see it close a little more. I want to see 4-hourly chart close, and then maybe even get a daily close above that level of resistance. That would be phenomenal, because we do have some wicks that went above it a little bit before. As it stands right now, though, the other reason why I'm a little bit hesitant to say that I'm going to be flipping bullish is because right now on the hourly chart, you guys can see we have strong bearish RSI divergence, because I think at the moment on the hourly chart, you could call what we see here higher lows, higher highs. We do have more of a bullish trend on the hourly chart, but in that trend, what you're seeing happen is the price is continuing to move to the upside. Oh, I did not mean to have my draw. There we go. There we go. We had the price continuing to climb to the upside, but what is the RSI doing? The RSI is doing the exact opposite. It's moving to the downside. You're going to see this on every single chart as you move up the timetable. So you guys see the divergence right there. When I go to the 4-hourly chart, I think it's a little too early on the 4-hourly chart to really deem this a bullish trend here. So I would say you're kind of seeing a formation of going back here, you're kind of seeing a formation of hidden bearish RSI divergence, which is a continuation pattern to the downside. And of course, it's a little smaller, but you're going to see it develop on the daily chart as well, where the RSI is beginning to climb, but the price continues to descend. This is classic territory that if you're studying RSI and you're watching and you're anticipating, you're going to see sometimes these things climb like this. The price is not climbing at the same rate the RSI is. That is a shakeout formation that's forming to where you're going to bring some hope into the space. You're going to get some retail and weak hands to say, oh no, maybe we have a chance. Maybe we can get back up to 24,000. Maybe we can go a little higher. And they're going to start to acquire and buy at these higher levels. And that's when the liquidations start to hit. That's when the shorts start to get entered. That's when the bears start to get more confidence and they get their dip. So I've said this for a long time. I still believe this is a no trade zone, neither a long nor a short position, because there are so many technicals and fundamental pieces of information coming out that are still pointing to the downside. And yet there are still signs of it moving to the upside. There's reasons for hope to the upside. There's just a mixed bag of results, and I cannot trade this market with any type of confidence yet. Yeah. That could change if we start to see some confirmation closes above this level of resistance, but I want to see it before I call it.
You want to know a very simple reason why I don't feel comfortable trading in this region? Let me show you on my chart. Lux Algo is showing us that we are in a sell signal, and we have been under a sell signal ever since the 6th of April, confirmed ever since the 10th of April, which means that we are already significantly far to the downside, 55% to the downside since Lux Algo called this entire trend. If you guys don't have Lux Algo's in chat, so shout out to Lux Algo, but make sure you sign up for Lux Algo with the link in the description box down below, coupon code Jebb, J-E-B-B, for 20% off. The reason that I'm not comfortable trading right here is shown crystal clear by Lux Algo. We need to get above this level of resistance, which is the trend catcher, at $22,700 by a large margin to see trend catcher turn green, and before we would ever see a buy signal come in. So before we see a confirmed trend to the upside, we need to see Bitcoin get to like 25K at least to confirm that, because Lux Algo is showing us that to get into green trend catcher, we naturally have to be above the trend catcher so that it's moving to the upside along with us. We're not going to push it to the upside being below it, and then after we get above it, then we could have a green buy signal maybe at 25K. Well, we're probably not going to see that, so I don't want to enter a long because I haven't had a confirmed signal from Lux Algo yet, but I also don't want to short because we're already down 55% from the sell signal, and we're ridiculously close to the take profit. In fact, the top of the take profit is at $16,965. We dropped down here to $17,500. We dropped right down there. So we've already exhausted most of the downward movement that Lux Algo called for, but we're not in a buy signal. Yeah. So we're already at the end of a trend. What are we doing trying to trade and jump into a trend when the trend's almost over? So Lux Algo shows us perfectly why we should be careful about entering trades on the daily chart. I'm talking about a trade that you'll be in 1, 2, 3 weeks. I'm not talking about down here on the hourly chart trading this volatility. I'm talking about specifically on the daily chart. There's a very good reason not to be in a trade right now. Now, if you're investing, hey, we're at great levels. That's wonderful. But if you're looking to do a trade, you would want to be looking to do a long. The problem is Bitcoin looks like it's going to keep moving to the downside, so a long's a bad idea, but it doesn't make sense for it to continue going to the downside because of all of the oversold signals. So even though it seems like we will go to the downside, the oversold signals are contradicting that, so you don't have a lot of confidence in a short, and you can't say to go long because you haven't had any confirmation of the upside. So it's a no trade zone right now, and Lux Algo gives us a great understanding of why that is. Make sure to sign up for Lux Algo using coupon code Jebb, J-E-B-B, for 20% off in the link in the description box down below. But
real quick, I don't know if people knew this. And if you have Lux Algo, or if you've been on the fence about buying Lux Algo, and especially if you're trying to learn TA, first of all, obviously Club DeFi, we teach all the fundamentals you need. So if you don't have Club DeFi already, I would heavily recommend that just to learn the fundamental things. But even let's say you have been learning technical analysis and you're struggling with things like, where do I find formations? How do I know when a formation is happening? Lux Algo, actually, I was playing with this the other day, Jebb. Lux Algo has a setting. So their Lux Algo SNR and SR and pattern premium option, if you click on it, there is an option. It actually will highlight and show you if a formation is happening. So, for example, right here, if you guys scroll this box, it's really hard to see, but you're going to see detected pattern, double top. So it's highlighting right there. Okay, we talk about double tops when we're learning basic technical analysis, but sometimes some people aren't ready to actually see them and apply them. Lux Algo will go ahead and tell you, hey, by the way, there's a double top forming. You might want to take that into consideration. This is the Bitfinex chart. If I were to go over to Coinbase, which is what I use quite frequently, this is what I was noticing on the hourly chart. There's a broadening wedge. I know you kind of showed a rising wedge, and they play out very similar. So this is not like a massive contradiction. This information goes a little farther back. Let me get rid of the regular premium one. Right here, I did not draw these lines. Like if I were to go ahead and get rid of all my lines, which actually I didn't draw any of these lines. Look at it. I'm remove drawings. Right there, boom. This is Lux Algo showing this formation. That is not me. So if anyone's struggling with formations, Lux Algo, this SR and Patterns premium version, which is part of Lux Algo problem, it's going to help you kind of cut out some confusion and help you identify patterns more quickly. So again, like Jebb said, if you don't have it already, or if you do have it and you're struggling to utilize it, continue to learn more about it, because there are some phenomenal tools in Lux Algo that, when paired with your understanding of how technical analysis works, will set you up for some very profitable trades.
Absolutely. Make sure to check them out. Link is down below. But let's go ahead and jump into some super chats, because I know we got a couple.
I think we have a couple. We definitely have a new member. So
yes, we have a new member.
Now here's the confusion. With Salt of Salt was already a member. So I think there's just
renewed,
something happened. Yeah,
back.
but he signed up as a Jebb Youngling. So Sultan of Salt, welcome back. Thank you so much for continuing to support us here at the channel. Crypto Sec Guy, referencing our intro where we talked about Smay and I going back and watching the first time I ever hosted Coffee and Crypto Live, which it was rough. But he said, Tim, funny story, that was still one of my favorite streams of yours. I don't know why, except for the fact that I don't think that Crypto Sec Guy really likes me. You know, we joke that we're frenemies with his Florida State.
He bought you
fandom
pineapple
and everything
pizza.
else.
That means he doesn't like you.
Yeah, he assaults me with pineapple pizza.
Oh gosh, that
I'm
just sounds like he threw it at you.
Since that, I've actually ordered pineapple pizza.
Yeah, he
for myself.
changed your mind. That's even more insulting.
I've become a
He's
pineapple
turning
pizza
people
fan.
against
He
me.
converted you?
Yes.
What?
I love pineapple pizza.
Smay?
Yep,
No.
I love pineapple pizza.
You're wrong.
I actually, here's what I take it even weirder, in a weirder direction. I don't like Hawaiian pizza because I don't like ham on pizza. I like pineapple and pepperoni pizza.
Shame.
Why? I mean, why don't we just start throwing cherries and mangoes and bananas and, like, why are we throwing fruit up on the pizza?
Put a cow patty on there. We'll make it.
Just save it for dessert. That's all I'm saying. You can eat fruit.
Who eats
I love
pineapple
fruit.
for dessert?
Save it for dessert.
That's a lame dessert.
No. Have you ever had like CC's Pizza's pineapple dessert pizza? CC's is a cheap place, but that pineapple pizza, tell me I'm not wrong. The pineapple dessert pizza is pretty fire.
I have not
Wait,
been
so
to
now
CC's.
you like
You
pineapple
have
pizza,
definitely
Tim?
been to CC's in your life, Smay.
When I was a little whippersnapper.
Yes.
A little whipper.
You don't need to have had it within the last 24
I never
hours
got
to
the
say that
I
it
never
was
got
amazing.
the pineapple.
I never went to
thing.
CC's.
Didn't they close down?
CC's Pizza?
Yeah, they're definitely going. Yeah, I think there's a couple left in the world, but
Pizza buffets are the
couple left
worst, in my opinion.
Pizza
know,
buffet.
no,
Tim, do you
the
remember
rest of
when
the
we were
pizza
in
was terrible.
Gatlinburg? Do you remember when we were in Gatlinburg and we went to that weird pizza place and it was gross? Do you know what I'm talking about? We were there with Zach and your wife, obviously, and Sam and Ian.
I
Where
remember
was
the
that?
pizza place. I remember a lot of other funny
No,
stories.
and when
on
we
that trip.
got there, we went to Mellow Mushroom. Who's ever been to a Mellow Mushroom? Dude, that's a trippy place right there.
Gosh.
Oh, gosh.
I saw a TikTok about mellow mushroom the other day.
You don't want to go to Mellow Mushroom, dude.
I don't.
You don't want to know what the cooks were talking about there. It was...
Crazy.
So this is where I found common ground with Crypto Sec Guy. Also, we know him as Jeffrey. He agrees with me. CC's fruit pizza was good. So
What?
we'll call a truce for the rest of the day, Jeffrey. We'll get back at it tomorrow because we do agree that pineapple dessert pizza is quality.
I actually really, I'm actually really hungry.
Tim, I don't understand your take. This makes no sense to me. So you're telling me you don't like pineapple pizza, but you're telling me you like pineapple on pizza so much you consider it a dessert.
No, pineapple dessert
You see
pizza
what I'm saying?
is like cream cheese and pineapple. Like it's not like sauce and like regular cheese. It's a dessert pizza. Like it's like a flat pie. I mean,
Okay.
Honestly,
That's just weird.
I could go for a pineapple pizza after this. I'll be honest with you.
Come on. All right, Frederick, before we transition to our next segment, Frederick Durst just he said Squid Grow BSC owner is a billionaire. Interview him. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Frederick Durst.
We've
Well,
interviewed billionaires
if that
on this
is
channel before.
if that is all our chats, then I
Wait
think
a minute. We have another one. There was another chat.
Oh,
I don't think so.
I thought there was. What?
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
if somebody
that's all-
donated a chat and then we didn't see it, tell us in chat.
if that's all our chats,
Listen,
it's time.
we have a new. So Maddie is our intern. Maddie has been taking over Maddie's been doing a phenomenal job. Definitely not High Zach's sister, actually, by the way.
Yes.
So keeping it within
She's
the
also
family.
definitely not
She has been killing it in her role. So shout out to Maddie. I don't know. Is Maddie? Do you ever comment in chat? Maddie, comment in chat for us. Let us know you exist.
Hello, Maddie.
But anyways, I was gonna say it's time for a word from our sponsor.
We do have a
Jebb.
word from our sponsor, guys. A common question we get from our audience is this: why use GetHedge when I can set up recurring buys through Coinbase or a similar platform? Well, I'll start by giving you 3 examples. Number 1, transaction fees. When you're using a platform like Coinbase, you're essentially getting hit 3 times in fees. The initial purchase, the spread or the slippage, along with the fee to move it to another wallet. With GetHedge, you pay 1.5%, no matter if your funds are stored on our platform or sent to 10 different wallets. Security is the other reason. Your funds are coming directly from the pay source straight to your wallet. And 3, you're bypassing your personal bank account. Even with the widespread adoption we've seen this last year or so, there are still so many banks that are not crypto friendly. Hedge eliminates the possibility of your bank freezing your funds or rejecting a transaction. As we've seen as of late, exchanges can be very risky places to store your crypto. At GetHedge, they believe in their users having full control of their assets. Change your allocation whenever you'd like, and you have the freedom to send to any wallet that you would like. It's your crypto, it's your wallet. If you use GetHedge, all you got to do is set up a new bank account through them that you direct deposit your pay into. They automatically use some of that pay and buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrency with it, and then will automatically send it to your wallet because they don't hold the custody. It's a very cheap way, very inexpensive way, very easy way, very non-time consuming way to dollar cost average into Bitcoin using incoming money into your accounts. So get hedged today using the link in the description box down below. But let's go ahead and jump into our next segment here. Wall Street Journal. Oh, Wall Street Journal. Always coming for somebody. Right now, you're coming for Gary Gensler. A few years ago, you were coming for all kinds of... There's just so much drama that the Wall Street Journal likes to stir up. Gary Gensler's Bitcoin regulation growl, although this time I actually kind of agree with him. The SEC's chief is blocking innovation until he can control crypto markets. Now, I don't pay the Wall Street Journal, so I don't see the article here, but Cointelegraph does reference it. By the way, shout out to Cointelegraph because I will be hosting my show Market Talks on Cointelegraph's YouTube channel here in about an hour and a half. So make sure you go over at noon Eastern and tune in to Cointelegraph because I will be live over there with a very special guest, Michael Van de Pope. So if you want to see him, make sure to go and check out that. It will be very, very profitable for you guys, I think. Now, the Wall Street Journal editorial is slamming the SEC's bewildering Bitcoin ETF denials. The editorial board has drawn attention to a two-pronged approach employed by the SEC's Gary Gensler, which makes it practically impossible to get a spot Bitcoin product approved. Now, this is a little bit complicated, so bear with me as I run through this. The Wall Street Journal editorial board has come out swinging against Gary Gensler's legendary resistance to approving a spot Bitcoin ETF. The hard-hitting opinion piece published on Wednesday called out the Gensler-led Securities and Exchange Commission for overt inconsistencies in how the commission handles applications for Bitcoin-related ETPs compared to more traditional assets and other commodities. So far, Gensler's SEC has rejected every single proposal for a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded product, including 2 in the last week from Grayscale and Bitwise, which resulted in Grayscale launching legal action against the SEC. We reported on that. The editorial board said the SEC holdup was even more bewildering, given the agency had approved several ETPs for Bitcoin futures products last year. Those do not hold physical custody, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because if you're going to manipulate a market, it's harder to manipulate a market where the market is actually using physical custody through something like an ETF. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. These consistent rejections led SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce to declare Gensler's resistance to spot crypto ETPs as becoming legendary, questioning at what point, if any, does the increasing maturity of the Bitcoin spot markets and the success of similar products elsewhere tip the scale in favor of approval? That's the question we've been asking for quite some time. There are a multitude of nations now that have Bitcoin spot ETFs. There are Bitcoin futures products in circulation. Bitcoin is even down 75+% from all-time high, still worth $390 billion. What is it going to take for crypto to get its own ETF? On a massive bear market, at the bottom of a bear market, it's still a $1 trillion sector. So what gives? Why are we not seeing this happen? Well, the editorial board has also drawn attention to this two-pronged approach employed by Gensler, which makes it practically impossible to get the spot product approved. This includes requiring ETP sponsors to demonstrate that a significant amount of Bitcoin trading occurs on a regulated market, or that the underlying market must possess a unique resistance to manipulation beyond the protections of traditional markets. According to WSJ, Gensler is fully aware that the first criteria simply cannot be met because almost all Bitcoin trading currently occurs on unregulated cryptocurrency exchanges. The second criterion is also extremely difficult for sponsors to meet, as the SEC has arbitrarily established a higher standard for Bitcoin spot ETPs without explaining how to satisfy it. And then we also have this tweet over here from Eric Bolchunas. Says, nice to see the WSJ editorial board today echo Jay Seffi's note from April that Gensler is holding spot Bitcoin ETFs and innovation hostage so he can get control of the crypto market. Now, Gensler and the chair of the CFTC have both come out and said that Bitcoin is not a security. But they both seem to also think that the rest of the altcoins are actually securities. It seems like Gary Gensler is trying for a power grab for the altcoin space, and if he's able to push back a Bitcoin ETF for long enough, then maybe he can make a power grab for the altcoin space. Well, here's the problem with what he's doing. First and foremost, Grayscale came out and said that 99% of the letters that were sent to the SEC on whether or not they should approve a Bitcoin spot ETF were in the affirmative, saying that no, you should approve the Bitcoin spot ETF. So the industry, which they are trying to quote unquote protect the consumers of, don't want the protection, and they just want the Bitcoin spot ETF approved. On top of that, how in the world are you supposed to get Bitcoin to the point where it's able to fully satisfy these criteria of possessing a unique resistance to manipulation beyond the protections of traditional markets? Crypto is a homegrown industry. It's not built in the same framework as traditional markets, which is what we've been harping on. It makes no sense for the Securities and Exchange Commission to be approving or denying Bitcoin based on their understanding of how to regulate traditional markets, because Bitcoin is not a traditional market. Bitcoin is a non-traditional market. It is an emerging market. It is an emerging asset class, and it does not operate on stock exchanges like a stock does, because Bitcoin is not a security. Now, I understand that an ETF has to follow securities rules and securities regulations, because an ETF is technically a type of a security, but Bitcoin is not. So he's making an argument which on the surface makes sense, but you have to question the motives. What is the motive here? What is Gary Gensler trying to do by trying to prevent Bitcoin from getting a spot ETF, even though the industry has grown so much that at this point, enough people want a spot ETF that he's just standing in the way of innovation, and the SEC is just standing in the way of the adoption of technology that would better the American people. So, Tim, I want to ask your opinion on this. Why do you think Gary Gensler is holding up a Bitcoin spot ETF? Is it all, pragmatic, and he's just trying to follow the letter of his commission, or is there a deeper motive here?
Yeah, I think, the Wall Street Journal makes a very interesting point about him wanting control, but let's be honest, most people want control, especially people who have been given massive amounts of control. It's never good enough. They always want to get more and more and more. So I definitely think that human element has to be taken into consideration when we're trying to think what is going on inside Gary Gensler's brain. I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not saying he's correct, I'm not saying that I agree with him, and I'm not saying that he should be left in the office. But I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that potentially he is thinking that he is doing what is best for people. Because yes, right now there are some points in there that we do not have regulational clarity on these exchanges. I mean, obviously we're watching right now, there are literally millions of people losing money, potentially lots of money, from situations like we've seen with Celsius and Voyager and Three Arrows Capital, and it looks like now Genesis is going to join the ship. We are seeing people get burned by exchanges. Even some of the good ones, like Binance, have had issues in the past where people's stuff gets locked up. Potentially, is Gary looking at those things and saying, you know what, I'm going to try to decide for people what is best for them. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to limit their ability to make these decisions for themselves, because they don't clearly make very good decisions on themselves. And this is a very Wild West zone with crypto. Like crypto is just not sitting in a place where there's a whole lot of structure yet to it. And so again, is that the right move? No, I don't think so. But does it make sense in his brain? I got to give him the benefit of the doubt that that's where he is going with this. But again, I don't think that should mean that he's left unchecked, and I don't think that means that we should not be challenging that position. And I love that we see things like the Wall Street Journal start to challenge this. I love that even within that article on Cointelegraph that it talks about even one of the chairmen of the SEC is starting to say this is a pretty laughable, calling it a legendary move. He is being extremely sarcastic, obviously. It's good to see that.
Hester Pierce is actually a woman.
What?
I think Hester Pierce is actually a woman.
Hester's a girl's name?
Yeah. I think
you learn new things every day.
Yeah, Hester Pierce is a woman.
I'm also getting into dicey territory, assuming anything with that. So that's fun. Either way, a chairman. Don't look at me like that, Smeg. A chairman who is up.
I'm sorry.
You just completely derailed my thought. It's good to see that there's
didn't want you
opposition.
assuming
It's
Hester
good to
Pierce.
see that is as much power as he has. There is a fighting chance that's either going to force him to change his decision, or there could be mounting pressure coming that will dethrone him from that position.
Absolutely. So, why do we care so much about a Bitcoin spot ETF? Well, one of the things that a Bitcoin spot ETF has the power to do is to help us decouple from equities markets. As you guys know, Bitcoin is down significantly over the last 8 months, but it's not just Bitcoin. The S&P 500 is down significantly ever since about a month after Bitcoin started moving to the downside. So it's not just Bitcoin going on here. And by the way, check out Lux Algo here over on the S&P 500's chart, the SPY's chart. It's illustrating a descending wedge right here. So that's pretty cool. Definitely make sure to get Lux Algo if you haven't already. But the SPY has been on a downtrend ever since pretty much the same time that Bitcoin has been. We hit a top right here on November 10th when Bitcoin did, had a little bit of a drop, then a bigger drop, then a bigger drop, then a bigger drop, and we've been moving to the downside ever since. So we are coupled with the equities, and as weird as it sounds, Bitcoin being listed on traditional exchanges could actually help decouple Bitcoin from the equities, because it would likely be getting so much adoption from people that are running from the S&P 500 because they don't trust the inflation of the US dollar, which is dropping the price of the S&P 500 because Main Street's getting hurt, and now Wall Street's finally starting to feel the impacts of Main Street getting hurt, and then they would leave the S&P 500 and go and put money into Bitcoin, but because they don't have the ability to get onto a cryptocurrency exchange because they don't understand how technology works, but they do understand how the traditional exchanges work, then they would put the money into the Bitcoin spot ETF and you would see a decoupling. In short, S&P 500 goes down because of inflation. People look for better alternative. They buy Bitcoin because it's right there on the same exchange, because it's a spot ETF. And that's, just so you know, that's also the thing that happened during the last bear market. Bitcoin exchange-traded products were an instrument in the 2018 bear market. Bitcoin futures over on CME, CBOE launched on the exact day that Bitcoin started dropping from $20,000. So there's a lot going on here. First and foremost, we want to see a Bitcoin spot product, because a spot ETF, because that would be very beneficial for Bitcoin. On top of that, the Wall Street Journal, I need to mention this, the Wall Street Journal is basically coming out pro-Bitcoin. We can't skip that, because the Wall Street Journal is owned by some of the most powerful people in the United States, some of the richest people in the United States. If the Wall Street Journal is coming out pro-Bitcoin, then I wonder what's going on behind the scenes with the people that own the Wall Street Journal, because they're probably pro-Bitcoin, they're probably looking at Bitcoin. So that speaks to institutional adoption in its own right. So why is Gary Gensler doing this? Is he backing up his stance based on free market capitalism, based on the principle of protecting consumer interests, or is he doing this for nefarious motives? Well, I don't know. But I do have my questions, because the Bitcoin product should have been approved by now. I firmly believe that. Now, as far as the Wall Street Journal, this is a question that we can ask about them. Is the Wall Street Journal backing up Bitcoin because they actually believe in Bitcoin, or because there is an ulterior motive from them? You know, as I think it was Matt C. said in chat, there's always an ulterior motive. There's always something going on behind the curtain when you're dealing with entities of this size and scope. What's going on behind the curtain at the Wall Street Journal? Why are they pro-Bitcoin? In the same way we should be asking, why are people anti-Bitcoin? We should be asking people, why are people pro-Bitcoin? You know, that's great. It seems like they're on our side, but why? Is it because they have owners that are trying to buy Bitcoin? These are questions we want to ask. Now, another thing to mention here is that the ProShares Bitcoin Short ETF, because as we've talked about, we have Bitcoin Short ETFs. They are not physically backed, so they're not physically backed. But the ProShares Bitcoin Short ETF has grown over 300% in 1 week. BITI now holds net short exposure equivalent to 3,811 Bitcoin, up just from 937 Bitcoin on June 27th. So the exchange-traded products are being used, and they're also working against Bitcoin. So that might be something that Gary Gensler is looking at. Okay, the products that we have right now, people can short the market, and that's doing very well, and it's holding Bitcoin down because I have this power grab that I'm trying to do. If I approve a Bitcoin spot ETF, then maybe people will start buying a bunch of Bitcoin, and the price will go up, and the bear market will end, and then the U.S. federal government will look bad because Bitcoin is the greatest hedge against inflation ever conceived by mankind. That, I think, also has something to do with it. The ProShares Bitcoin Short ETF, BITI, grew by 306% last week alone, firmly cementing its place as the second largest Bitcoin ETF in the United States. BITI holds a net short exposure equivalent to 3,811 Bitcoin. Now, the fund launched on June 21st and became the country's second largest ETF within just 2 days, trailing another ProShares investment vehicle, the Bitcoin Strategy ETF, BITO, which contains more than 32,000 in Bitcoin per Arcane's data. So, you can use ProShares Bitcoin Short ETF to capture gains on the downside, but you can't use a Bitcoin spot product to move to the upside. And that's the concern, at least not one that's physically custodied. And that's the problem, is that we don't have a Bitcoin spot product where it helps to grow the market. The products that are out there right now only help to continue driving the market to the downside. We don't need any more of that. If he was really trying to protect the consumer, Gary Gensler, then he would approve the Bitcoin spot ETF because it would be good for the price action of Bitcoin. But instead, he approves everything that allows people to short, that's not physically backed. So there's no actual link between the supply and the demand. Or excuse me, between the demand being turned illiquid because people are buying it using the spot product. It is a huge problem that we're suffering here. Now, what you can do is that apparently you can use ProShares Bitcoin Short ETF to make quite a bit of money. A lot of people are trying to do that, and then you can take your money out of ProShares product and then put it back into Bitcoin and dollar cost average as we are starting to move to the upside, and that's a wonderful idea. But it doesn't skip the fact that Gary Gensler is standing in the way of things. And that's why he has petitions over on change.org to fire him. Fire Gary Gensler as SEC chairman for obstruction of justice. Now, I'm not here to make an allegation of obstruction of justice. I'm just reading you what this says. 12,594 people have signed it. Let's get to 15,000. This seems to be a little bit dormant at the moment. There's not a lot of people signing this as of recent, but there are other petitions out there as well to do this. Now, the problem with that is that you can't just go fire an SEC chairman. It doesn't really work that way, and Tim is probably going to be able to explain that better than I.
I was doing some research on it this morning because I was like, hey, how is this going to work? Like, let's say there is enough pressure there to do it. How would it have to go down? So first of all, it's not the same, but there's some similarities between appointing people to the SEC and appointing commissioners, that is, and then appointing people to the Supreme Court. But a president cannot fire the head of the SEC, the chairman of the SEC. The president can appoint people to the SEC. The president can make what do you call it? Gosh. They can recommend who of the commissioners should be the chairman of the SEC. And then they have to have the approval of the Senate. We know that they can't fire them because back in 2008, when McCain was running for president against future President Barack Obama, at the time, I can't remember the name of the person who was the SEC chairman, but McCain said, if I am voted into office as president, I will fire the SEC chairman. And so people had to waken old McCain up and say, hey, that's not how that one works. What could happen, if Gary Gensler gets removed, this is how it will happen. The president of the United States, so at this point, Biden, and who knows after the next election who the president will be, but the president of the United States cannot fire the chairman. What they can do is recommend a replacement, in which case now it will go to the Senate, and the Senate can approve. And what would happen to old Gary is Gary would not be fired. He would just become a regular commissioner. I think there's 5 of them. He would step down as the chairman, and a new one would be promoted up to chairman. So here's the question is there a current commissioner in place that would be good for the crypto space? Is there one that we think that the current administration would like above Gary Gensler? Or potentially, will we have to wait? Let's say there is a changing of the guard at the executive level here in the United States. Will we have to wait for that changing of the guard before we actually get the power to make this move? I have not really seen Biden or his administration come out either against or for Gary Gensler. So I'm not necessarily this time ready to say I think that that's something that could happen anytime soon. But maybe someone else knows something I don't know.
Well, if you look back at the Cointelegraph article that we discussed earlier, it talks about the SEC commissioner Hester Peirce. Hester Peirce is one of those 5 commissioners, and she was the one that declared Gensler's resistance to a spot crypto ETP as becoming legendary, questioning, at what point, if any, does the increasing maturity of the Bitcoin spot markets and the success of similar products elsewhere tip the scale in favor of approval? She's asking that question, then she thinks it should be approved. Duh. Yeah. So the point is that Hester Peirce is, if you know the name Hester Peirce, then you will be familiar with what I'm talking about. She's been pro-crypto for a long time, and she's been on the commission for a long time as well. And she does believe in Bitcoin and has been very friendly towards Bitcoin, but she's not the chair. She's just a commissioner, so she doesn't have all the power that Gary Gensler does. But if Gary Gensler does get stripped of his command at some point, Hester Pierce is already in position to be nominated as his replacement, and that would be a very good thing for the cryptocurrency space, in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I agree with everything that Hester Pierce has ever said. I don't know everything that Hester Pierce has ever said, but she does seem to be pro-crypto, not just because of this, but because of other things I've heard her say and do in the past.
And remember, so it's not even just as simple as just because Gary. I think Hester. It sounds like Hester would be a great piece if we, as the American people and people who are pro-crypto, could make a vote on it. I think that would pass easily. Remember, not only does the president have to kind of recommend a replacement of Gary Gensler and get the Senate's approval, then who knows if the president's going to choose Hester Pierce or if they're going to choose one of the other 5 commissioners to replace Gary Gensler, and who knows where those people stand with crypto. And then you got to get the Senate to approve it. At the moment, I think there's still, there are definitely very pro-crypto senators, but there's also very anti-crypto senators, cough, cough, Elizabeth Warren. So it's not a sure thing just because there's enough pressure from the people that would maybe make the current administration get rid of Gary Gensler that they're going to replace it with a very pro-crypto person either. There's still a lot that has to happen there. But if it's going to happen, I just want you guys to know that's the route it's going to have to take.
Absolutely. And I just found an article here from the 16th of last month on Cointelegraph. Hester Pierce expresses strong support for crypto spot ETFs and regulatory structure. The pro-crypto SEC commissioner and quote-unquote crypto mom, people call her that, had sharp words for the SEC behavior towards Bitcoin spot ETF sponsorship applicants, delivering at a libertarian forum. So if a person on the commission were to be brought to power, we would want it to be Hester Pierce, is what it sounds like. So what you want to take away from this, and to be honest with you, it's not even what you want to take away from this, it's what Gary Gensler wants to take away from this, is that he needs to take a look at what's happening to the UK Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. We take it right back to the beginning of the show. Boris Johnson resigned under a massive amount of scrutiny, obviously from the opposing party, but also from his own party. The SEC is under a lot of scrutiny from not only the opposing party, but now also, because Hester Pierce doesn't agree with Gary Gensler, from his own party. So Hester Pierce seemingly would probably be in support of Gary Gensler being stripped of his command and her potentially being nominated. Now, I don't know what her stance is on that, but he's losing support on all sides right now is what it seems. And if he keeps it up, he will eventually lose his job if he continues to deny Bitcoin spot ETF approvals. That should go through. And I'm not going to make any allegations about what Gary Gensler is or is not doing or why he is not doing such things. But I do have my concerns about why a Bitcoin spot product has not been approved after 5 years of them being applied for. When I got into the cryptocurrency space in 2017, people were applying for Bitcoin futures, Bitcoin spot ETFs. It's been that long. On the 31st of this month, I will have been in crypto for 5 years, and back then people were trying to approve them. What's going on? Could it be that the big money, the whales, failed to get into crypto and they want to get in before a spot product is approved? Could it be that Gary Gensler is waiting for BlackRock or one of his buddies to get the first approval? Because the first Bitcoin ETF to get approved is going to be the one that is going to be the most successful because it's the first to market. What's going on here? We don't have all the answers, but I do have a lot of questions. I'd love to hear your answers to those in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media at CryptoJebb over on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure to sign up for Lux Algo if you haven't already. Use coupon code Jebb, J-E-B-B, for 20% off at checkout, and check out clubdefi.com. Let's read some super chats before we wrap it out, though. I think we have a couple.
Do we? I think we have one,
Wallstreet.
and from T, and he says, would you like to interview Shib Toshi, one of the biggest Shiba Inu whales?
I mean, maybe. I have no idea. I'd have to look into who he is. We'll keep you posted. That's the best answer. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna give. I was responding to someone in chat. I want to reiterate. You know, today's a little bit lower review day, but everyone in chat, I'm so grateful you guys are here.
Yeah, we love you guys.
If anyone's watching and they're not a subscriber, if you guys are wondering why can't I chat, if you become a subscriber, you can chat. I think this is a subscriber-based chat only. But I really do want to protect the community here. So I love diverse opinions. I love when someone says things like, man, I disagree with that take. Hey, I don't think that's really how that works. I think you're a little off there. But when people start getting a little disrespectful, I don't know if you guys have noticed, we have been kind of eliminating those because we want a community-based group that is working together to better themselves, and there is a way to disagree without being disrespectful. So for anyone out there who doesn't fully understand why the comments get deleted or people get timed out, this is a respectful community. We respect one another. You are more than welcome to disagree. You are more than welcome to argue, but let's keep it respectful. if you cannot abide by that, this might not be the space for you.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, we also have somebody else coming back. So, Martijn Siebels, shout out to you, my friend. Welcome as a Jebb Youngling again. I believe he was a Jebb Youngling before. He was a member before, so something may have happened there. So, welcome back to that. Airzone HVAC LLC said, "What's a hedge, bank, or an app?" It is hedge is a service which allows you to automatically convert your pay that comes in through direct deposit or bank transfer into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency with no hassle and virtually no fees. So that's why hedge is so important. Make sure to check it out. Let's also talk about this poll, because I'm not happy about the results of this poll, Tim, and are you?
The truth is, when it started off, it was way worse. I saw at one point it was like 65-30.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, so the fact that we climbed
Who
back
are
to
these people?
46% no on pineapple pizza.
Who
Listen,
are these people?
you know, there's a wide, you know, there are people that have some needs. I recommend counseling.
Yes, I recommend counseling.
Some
Prayer.
rehab,
We'll be
some
praying for you
therapy.
guys.
Some people
Jesus.
are, like Smay are falling.
Yes.
They are falling
Oh,
to
man.
temptation of pineapple on pizza.
It's not a
it's-
temptation,
it's-
but delivers from the evil one.
It's rough.
It's rough.
But the fact still stands. I hate that he has control over those sounds.
I
right now.
know.
Goodness
Pineapple does not
gracious.
belong on pizza. Well, Gia S., my boss won't let us change payroll. The cool thing about Hedge is that you actually, as the individual, don't have to do anything to change payroll. You can just do it on your own. All you have to do is ask your boss to reroute your bank account deposit to a different bank account, and then it'll work. So Hedge can operate on the employer side and slot right in with the payroll software without changing anything. Or if you're the individual, then you can receive your paycheck to another bank account, and then they will automatically convert it for you from there. And then through the two bank accounts, you can reroute the money to your bank account. So you don't actually need to change anything with the payroll service at your company to get Hedge.io. Link is in the description box down below. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, thank you so very much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to tune in an hour over on Cointelegraph's YouTube channel, because I will be interviewing none other than the famed and acclaimed Michael Van de Pope, and we will be talking about a lot of different things crypto. So if you want to see more Crypto Jebb, if you want to see interviews with very intelligent and successful people in the cryptocurrency space, make sure to check out Cointelegraph noon on Thursdays, and you will be glad you did. Before I go, though, guys, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.